Okay. I'm Tricia Benn. I'm the CEO of C-Suite Network, and I have the incredible honor of welcoming everyone to the C-Suite Support Council meeting today. And of course, introducing none other than Paul Whitley. He is the founder of the Support Council and certainly the chair of the C-Suite Support Council, and just always servant leadership at the forefront as he's the fractional CFO with a mission to help businesses grow exponentially with extensive experience in creative problem solving, operations management, coaching, mentoring, and training, and building really successful teams. Paul, I'm going to hand things right over because I cannot wait for this conversation today.
Well, Tricia, thank you very much. And thank you for being part of this. As you and I have been talking about uh, the efforts of C-Suite, and it goes for network and support. We definitely are trying to do anything we can to help a business owner, a business person do better, have more, and get to where they go. So I appreciate your support. And as we talked about, I have asked you to engage in this. You've been in the level of a CEO. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The CEO of a company. And in my viewpoint, the CEO of a company is the hero of the story. If there's no hero, if there's no story, you're in trouble. So from our standpoint, we want to make the CEO a hero and support him in doing that job. And one of the biggest villains that a CEO has is financial instability. So we're talking today about trying to get those things going. And our team works diligently, every work day of the month, every of the year, et cetera, trying to help a company be better, to grow, to be profitable, to get them the money they need to do to make all of those things. So thank you for the introduction. And today you can be our hero. How's that?
I love it. It has so many different meanings for me. And I will say my whole standard line on heroes, Paul, is that we have our cape at the ready, and every once in a while we can, unflail it and really feel like a hero. And most often, everyone else around us is the hero. So I'm gonna say I think you're wearing the hero's cape more often, but thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to start this off in that I've asked members of the C-Suite team to be a part of this conversation and bring some of their exposure, their knowledge, and personality to the conversations, because we're all in companies working as a fractional CFO, doing exactly what we're proposing to do and try to help with others. So the area I'm going to start off in is embracing technology and automation. It is a hot topic. Everybody in the world, if you haven't been hearing and been dealing with AI and technology and different things of that nature, you've got to be living in a well somewhere, as opposed to out there in your business. So we're trying to get those things done and involved with their client. And I'm going to open that up with the guy that's one of the technology minded guys in our team, Tabor Wetz, and turn that on to you about what are you doing and what should the hero of the company be doing towards moving into technology world that we're in now.
Sure. Thanks, Paul. Um, you know, AI has rapidly moved from this nice to have feature to a must have for businesses looking to stay competitive. Many companies are already adopting AI to either automate routine tasks or improve customer service and make better data-driven decisions. So if we fail to join and embrace these tools, we just risk falling behind in productivity and efficiency, and our entire business just lags behind those that we're competing against. So AI is not only optimizing operational workflows, it helps enhance how we analyze customer behavior and market trends, financials. It allows us to make smarter, faster business decisions. And so with today's competitive landscape, we've just got to adopt AI and not wait until we decide to it comes to us. We've got to be proactive in going out there and doing that. You're already seeing a lot of operational software systems that help you manage tasks, building AI into those systems like ClickUp. There's a bunch of Monday, all of these types of task-based systems are even adopting the AI, so that it helps you in writing, in producing follow-up emails and staying on top of tasks. So for me, I would say this isn't something that you put off for the next year or the following in your vision traction organizer, but this is one that we move too quickly, and not just use it for business, but go out and I would recommend even playing with AI tools just for your own personal side, so that it becomes a more natural part of your day-to-day life. And when you start doing that and it becomes more routine, you find yourself being able to explore its uses in every aspect.
Oh, I recently, one of our clients is a CPA firm, and it has such a variety of personalities that are going back out to talk to their clients and et cetera. And in our level 10 meeting that we had last week, we were talking about the quality of communication within the company. So we went through an exercise of how to use AI internally for email communications with your clients, so that you remove the curtness or the follow-up issues or the anything that would be negative with that company, in just pure communication. But I'm going to turn this, and that's critical. I think every company should start looking at that for their own communication standpoint. But I'm going to turn this over. One of our guys goes into deep dive on financials. Jason, are you on the line? You want to talk about what you're doing with AI and giving management teams more information and better information to get things done?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so I use I've upgraded to Chat 4.0. I also have an AI tool specific to financial reporting called Julius, and I use a combination of the two to create monthly summaries of the financials that I get either out of QuickBooks or Fathom or whatever tool that you choose to use. And so it's taken some time, but what I have is chats for each of my clients. And now that I have it built, all I have to do is input the financials and just tell it to revise the summary, and it will automatically recreate the summary, updating last month's numbers to current numbers, and it's truly amazing. And I just pop it into an email with the financials, and the client gets a nice summary right there in their email. So before we meet and review, they have a pretty good idea of exactly where they're at. I even use it, Paul, for EOS. I pull the dashboard metrics out on the Excel file, PDF it, and I throw it into chat. And it's amazing the analysis that you can get out of there. Bookings to quotes, win rates. There just isn't anything it can't do that won't help the client.
Oh, you're on mute, Paul.
You're on mute, Paul.
I'm sorry, I've got things going on here. Strengthen financial management. I'm going to turn that to you for just a minute. I'm going to have to step away.
Okay. So yeah, strengthen financial management. So I think AI is a good tool, like I said, that I'm using to help do that. But again, it's just one of the tools in our CFO toolbox that we can use to help manage our clients and give them the financials and the support that they want. So as we know, a lot of our clients might not know a whole lot about the financials or specifics. And so when I when I do an AI analysis, depending on who my client is, I usually tell it who my audience is. I can say, put it in layman's terms, be more professional, more analytical, and depending on the knowledge base of who my audience is, I can get a really good analysis of and give them exactly what they need when they need it, so that they can decipher it on their own. and do
Yeah,
with
Jason, you bring up a good point in the fact that you've got to have that, you've got to be able to speak to chat in order to prompt it to give you what you want. And so kind of going back to what I had mentioned earlier about using it in your personal life, in your day-to-day routines, it's like you start to learn how to create those prompts and use those prompts to get information out that make it useful for you even in your business day. But yeah, that's a really good point in building those prompts by, with your clients and really creating threads that really are topic oriented.
I'm
Yeah.
curious what some of those prompts are that you find most useful for both of you, Jason and
That's what,
Tabor. Yeah.
so what I've been doing is
Right.
I've been sharing my prompts with and I think we're sharing with each other at within C-suite, because you're right, Tricia. It's all about what are you saying to chat to get what you want. So
Mhm.
a lot of it is, I call it the hunt and peck method. You just I start with what I think that I want, and then, chat and Julius is so quick that you can kind of, you watch it as you're, you know, I'm in my next, chat line typing something different, because I'm already seeing that I'm not getting what I want. So some of the prompts, and, you know, uh, let chat know who the audience is. Let them know what it is you're wanting. What kind of fun do you want? A in-depth, deep dive financial analysis? Do you want a summary? Sometimes what I'll do is I always attach an example. So sometimes I'll put in an annual report. That way it has something to base what I'm looking for. And it's really good about, mimicking and kind of using that as its basis. Tabor, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. I will say uh, one key feature that I think a lot of people may not know to use, but is, when you're talking to ChatGPT, it's storing a lot of this data that you bring in and share with it. So one of the things that our team does is make it a conscious effort when you're working within that to ensure anything that you're uploading, if it's even if it's outdated information, you can tell ChatGPT to keep it confidential. You can keep it local only. It really gives you this ability to create some confidentiality within your work product as well. So just making sure understanding some of those items is really important, as well as you find yourself sharing data with this cloud-based system that nobody seems to really quite know how it all works. So
David, that's a
finding
good point. I mean, security, right, is really, really important. So
Absolutely is. Well, I'm going to move the conversation a little bit here to some other things that the hero needs to help on, and we're there to help him with. And that's on cash flow. And Bob, you mentioned a minute ago, you got a few comments on 13-week cash flows, cash flow management. What would you like to share with us?
Yeah, one of the things we look at from our customers is really, do they even have a cash flow, or are they just basically flying with open seats of credit? And so in one particular customer that they really didn't have that, they were just working off of bank lines of credit. So we worked with them to establish that 13-week cash flow, which was later expanded to 20 weeks because they had specific needs to get the lending going at the same time. So it's something we really stare at and look at, do they really have a good method of doing that? And then once we get something in place, how good are we at projecting cash flows? Just understanding that whole rhyme of business. So it's an important part of that. Most companies run out of cash quickly. And so it's something, even though they may not have anything, we look at that and say, all right, we need to get that, or we need to improve it, or we need to do something different with that.
Absolutely. The CEO feels frustrated. He's overwhelmed. He's trying to run a business. And when he's focused on how am I going to pay payroll on Friday, rather than what do I need to grow my business, then that business is going to suffer from that. So for us to help him be in a position where he's got those 13-week cash flows, he's got some surety. It also helps us know what to do to help him get the money or make the plans and things and go out there. Jason, you've been working with some companies here recently, very heavily on cash flow and trying to get them ready to basically get ready to go out for sale. Share a couple of those experiences with us.
Yeah, so I think we've all had the experience of a CEO or an owner saying, I don't understand why I don't have any cash. I have plenty in my bank account. We've all heard that quoted or that saying, and we know that just because you have cash in your bank account doesn't mean you have cash coming in consistently. And so I think, when a company really understands their cash position and their liquidity, it really helps them to make some really good decisions. And so I really lean heavy on the cash flow report. I make sure that I have all my agents in there. I can discount some of the longer out, the stuff that's probably not going to be, collected soon. I average the P&L over 3 months, make sure that, all of my expenses, my COGS, the revenue makes sense. And then I'm really good about letting the client see their average burn rate per week. So what is it that they're burning through a week? Is it positive or negative? If it's negative, what can we do or what do we see? Are there AR collection times, 50, 60 days? That could cause a problem. Sometimes a lot of clients pay their AP before their AR. There's just a lot of things you can glean from that cash flow report, Paul.
I appreciate that. Tricia, you've been in the role of having that struggle dealing with companies, and be it that you need to have $1 million payroll or a $30,000 payroll, every company CEO likes to have trusted advisors and needs a guide. What's your experience that you would share, and how does that filter into what C-Suite Network tries to provide in the public space and in the business domain?
I think, thank you, Paul. And I'm loving this conversation and listening intently, because the truth is, to your point, it doesn't matter what size CEO, what size company it is, cash flow is absolutely critical. And as the CEO, there are so many things that are outside of your control. So the kind of work that you're talking about, that's what provides that steady framing of what holds true, regardless of all the things you can't control. One of the things that I'm seeing recently is a great deal of stress around investment dollars. And that's been fascinating to watch, how small to mid-size companies really, really struggle with cash flow around an investment influx and the promise of that. The most outlandish thing I've seen recently with a CEO that I work with is a bank promising a certain amount of money and then reneging on it because of their internal processes. And so the CEO, in terms of that cash flow, and when there's an influx of investment dollars, that's a real teeter-totter. And so and they say, and I forget who is famous for this quote, but you literally haven't lived as a CEO if you haven't worried about how you're making payroll tomorrow. And regardless of the size, that's always the next step, right? The next step again.
Absolutely right. And Chris, I'm going to let you step in here. We just were brought into a company by a company that's taking them out for sale. And they said, okay, we need some help getting this company prepared, but equally important, the company needs some help to get structured here. So Chris went out to a company, and he's been on site. In fact, he's on site now, so I've got to be careful name-wise. And the previous CFO moved their bank account, got it all approved, took it for signature, and the CEO didn't realize that he got a better rate, but they reduced his line of credit by a significant amount. And it went, what? And he didn't know it. Chris is in there being the guy that says, what happened here? So Chris, share what you ran into in this situation.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So it's a really good example, meaning, where's our cash going? And so in this case, the client had significant reserves available. didn't notice right away that there was a drawdown. So when you look at the cash flow statement on a reporting period basis, there was a delta, but it wasn't coming through operations, meaning you weren't losing money. And so people tend to think things are similar and continue that way unless it's pointed out to them. I think it took roughly 6 months to notice, hey, what happened to our more than $500,000? So that's important when you need it for seasonality, other things. So I think it is really important, not just the operational piece, but to see all the pieces, even on a one pager for a cash flow statement, I think goes a long way, Paul.
And that's our job as a CFO, to provide clear plans. And I realize we're CFO focused, but a good CFO is CEO focused. And we're trying to help that CEO see holistically on that company, while we're wanting to make sure that all of the other components are there. One of the bigger areas that we want to deal with that's outside our direct response is focusing on the customer experience and retention. So I'm going to turn this over to Tabor to start with this and bring Chris back in. Chris is a certified dream manager, and just to what we look to a company to help them identify what they need, but then also help them get what they need. So Tabor, you want to start with that?
Sure. So you're trying to really focus on customer experience and retention. Is that what you're
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I think a lot of a lot of companies have a hard time in creating that personal that personal relationship. And I think it's really important, especially on a fractional side, if you're not in the day-to-day routine with that client, really trying to create that bond and that friendship, and being able to be an open, to be that source of someone to lean on and talk to, because it's just, in order to get what you really need out of that CEO or that leadership team, they've got to be able to trust you and just feel comfortable talking to you just naturally. I've got some clients that, because I'm not in the office all the time, I miss a lot. And so I find even some days I've got to go and just, post up there. And even if I moved to an office to work with other clients throughout the day, just being, nearby sometimes helps them just bring up some good points to us. So really getting to understand who your customer is and being able to build that personal relationship, for me, is really a key in retaining them for a long period of time, because they're going to be more apt to be honest with you about what you're doing right or wrong. And having that open and honest communication line is just it's priceless.
And I agree with that. And I'm going to turn what we're talking about for us and turn that outwardly for a company that we're dealing with, the CEO. And that is, many companies work with CRM systems to work with their customers, like we're talking about working with our customers. And some of those things need to have those regular feedback mechanisms. You need to be talking back and forth. Here, we try to have a second CFO. We have a second CFO assigned to every client, so that if the communication breaks in any way, shape, or form, or somebody takes a vacation, they're ill, they've got illness in the family situation, somebody's backing them up, so we don't leave a client hanging. Well, let's turn that around to a customer, a CEO. You should have your own internal system of customer interactions, and keeping in mind your employees are your customers as well. So from a CEO standpoint, interactions with your customers is key, and that's your internal personnel. As a group, externally going out with that, you need that feedback. So we try to work with companies, and that's one of the things in working with Tricia. I'll share with you, Tricia, you guys, when you're a member of C-Suite Network, members have at their disposal their own CRM systems, just as a membership. You want to share something on the high level membership, Tricia?
Thank you so much, Paul. Yes, I mean, for us, we want to be able to provide that platform to see success across the whole ecosystem of C-Suite Network. So those tools we're constantly testing and vetting and working on what are opportunities where we can be deepening the relationship, extending the relationships across the whole of the platform, and then providing products and services that we know will be useful. So as the CEO of C-Suite Network, I can tell you we've been using High Level to feed into what we've launched as our C-Suite Marketing Cloud for over 2 years now, I think it is. And all of it so that we could be vetting ahead of then sharing it, and all of the highlights of what's working. What do we actually see working, and how can we extend that? And as the CEO of C-Suite Network, I can share that that means in my case, I was able to cut out Salesforce, Pardot, Adestra, 2 texting services, our social media scheduler, and I finally just closed the last of the Acuity calendar links. So, those end up in automation somewhere. You got to watch where those go. So that's now done. So I've literally cut out over 100,000 in hard costs annually from our platform. That's a very large spend for a smaller business. So these are the kinds of things we want to be able to extend and have that high tide raise all boats of seeing success and then being able to deliver it and share it. And of course, expand that with our leaders across the platform.
That is perfect, which leads me into the next thing. Part of this conversation is, okay, what are we doing now to be ready for 2025? You just touched upon one of the things that we're wanting to do internally, and that is work with all of our clients to look at their expenses. Look at the things that are first controllable, the things you need, keep, the things that you want, get rid of, the things that are nice, turn off today, and then consolidate. So I'm going to go back to Chris on this one. Taking those financial statements, and it looks like Chris may have somebody in the office with him. I don't know if he's able to break loose here, to come back into doing an analysis of the cost structure of the SG&A and work with that. I'm doing that with a company right now, breaking it down by what's the profitability per employee? What's the sales per employee? What is the backup cost per employee in all of their functions? Painful, but it needs to be done. Chris, you want to step in on that?
Yeah, and I think I heard most of it, Paul. So if we're still in employee retention and planning, I can kind of bridge both of those two together.
Well, I'm really looking for optimization of expenses and that type of thing, which includes employees by all means. But I saw that you had someone step in and start talking to you there. I apologize. He's on site with a client for anyone that doesn't know. So thank you, Chris, for stepping in.
Yeah, so I think number one is knowing where you are. So having a map, so where are we, number one? I think if you ask, the leadership of a lot of companies, you'll hear 5 different answers depending on who you ask. So just really, clear map to begin with. And then after that, it's kind of knowing some of the numbers. So variable and fixed cost. I mean, it sounds simple enough. We've all heard it and thought about it. I don't know if we all use that well enough in real time, because there's things that go along with it. So when you do a forecast, how do you use that forecast? How often do you look at it? Do you have a story that goes along with it? Are you looking at variances month to month to figure out what came true that we thought would, what didn't that we thought would? And how do we optimize month to month? So I think a lot of it comes down to planning and tracking, Paul, with some of our clients, and getting the data right is really, really important. And then putting some kind of cadence and structure around that to be able to review the results.
Thank you. Bob, would you like to step in on some of the things on cost analysis and getting in there? You've had to do some deep dives for me and try and find out what we had.
Yeah, extremely deep dives to try to understand. And like Chris said, just getting the baseline of what it is. I mean, nobody ever has enough salespeople. So just going down on a baseline subject, how much revenue do they have per salesperson? Who are the actual producers? Where is your profitability really coming from? And so is there really a basis for adding people? Same would go in the manufacturing environment. If I just add all these people and shifts and so forth, I'll have all this extra production. Well, you know, that you have to really drill down into exactly what is it you're trying to do to go into the production and see where the profitabilities are per person, who's doing the real work, things like that. So yes.
And that leads into what's called KPIs, key performance indicators. Recently, I've had a CPG company to where we were trying to do a turnaround with them. And one of the simplest things we did was how much product per hour was coming off of the production line. And what did we have to do to improve the quantity while not giving up quality to get it off the line? And ultimately, the company agreed to put in some automation that we cut out several people and we increased the productivity off of it. Well, guess what? When you cut out people, it saves money. And if you increase productivity anyway, and now you have more products, and now let's find out how to go sell it. So I turned that in. And Jason, you've been going through this with a client here recently of a deep dive of what are we spending and where. You want to share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have several clients, and I'm really digging into the nuts and bolts of the company. We have a client that is in fire protection, and their revenues are half of what they were the year before, but his margins are holding strong. So we're using a combination of getting into the WIP schedule to really look at his margins by job type. And then we're actually getting into some of his expenses, looking at a lot of his, his payrolls, holding steady. But he does have some OpEx that we still are looking at. So it's really important when you're looking, at the numbers. I like looking at the COGS percent of revenue, gross margin percentage, and then operating margin percentage, because lenders and banks, they love the margins, but they really like looking at that operating margin.
All right. Well, one of the next steps is that we're trying to do, and now Tricia, we'll go back into this, is developing a strong talent strategy. We do level 10s with our clients, EOS product, to where it gives us the opportunity to look at the company, look at the people, and the ability to see where the strengths and weaknesses are in the seats of those companies. It helps us be able to help the CEO determine what's good, what needs to be better, and how to work with that. In addition to that, we do help companies find talent for that. So, Tabor, you're in a lot of L10s. What are your thoughts about helping the company in terms of developing a strong talent strategy, which means developing the people that are already there or determining those seats need to be replaced?
Yeah, I mean, I think working with a strong EOS implementer is really important. And one of the things that you do in those both initial meetings as well as getting involved with your quarterlies is you're creating an accountability feature within your business. You're building out this ability to really understand who's willing to adopt that accountability process and those features. It allows people that are managing those, blow them away to really see what they're doing, see what the people that are working for them are working on and where they are in projects, which inevitably helps upstream the ability to plan better, because whether or not something's on or off track. There's just a lot to that that the upside to an EOS type system or a scaling up system. There's a few out there to use, but my favorite feature of all that is just that accountability. And then also just working within it myself, I find that that accountability helps me personally as well. And that makes me more efficient, helps me stay on top of things, because we all have every bit of noise in our lives that are always trying to take your time, and so having a tool that you can use to focus your everyday on and know short-term and long-term tasks or just it's really important. And so I find that's a big help for companies.
One of the things we do is we have a bench of people to work with. Part of that bench is brought to us by C-Suite Network. Part of it's brought by our local network that we have here. And where I'm going to bring this around, Tricia, is that working through C-Suite Network, we're trying to find, and we have a client, he has a need, he has some marketing needs, wants to grow. Share with us what C-Suite Network does in the marketing area and with the members of C-Suite Network to help companies like us find talent, work with talent.
We are constantly vetting. So in C-Suite Network, we have 350,000 executives, owners, investors, and influencers in our base, but our reach is incredibly extensive. We host over 400 events a year. We've got all the different communities within, like C-Suite Support Council, and many, many more. And then, of course, we have all of our content. So the digital content, written content with our C-Suite Publishing, our podcast platform, we distribute over 450 podcasts, which is thousands of episodes a year. So all of that to say that we are constantly in that vetting mode of who are quality, experienced leaders in every space that we can be referring and connecting. And, being a hero leader, Paul, with the Hero Club, we have constant connections being made with our Hero Club hour chats to be able to just always be connecting great leaders with great leaders so that those conversations can be happening and that experience can be and the relationship can be carried forward as quickly as possible. I think we referred earlier, we can't afford not to move quickly, and we certainly can't afford bad partners. There's just no time to absorb that kind of challenge. So that's something we're working on every day. And so, you mentioned Sheila Rondeau earlier with C-Suite Experiential. This woman has done incredible work in the event space, from bringing out the Carlsberg, Clydesdales out of the Super Bowl stage to massive installations all over the world. And then the most elite small events. And, so we're working with her, with one of our partners that has that need right now, and so many more. So it's very exciting to be able to do that. Just connected someone today on a market research need with somebody I'd worked with for many years. And there's just nothing greater than being able to connect great people with great people to do great business.
And that's one of the things I wanted to bring around as a total here is those partnerships. A lot of companies are looking for help. And in most cases, the people that I'm going to try to bring into a company to help, they've got a business, they've been in business for a while, they can back up that business. And in that process, they have people to work with. So those partnerships become very important. I haven't even announced to my team yet. I just reached an agreement with a data company, big data company, that we're going to be their beta test site for building out their programs, that they've now signed an agreement with the AICPA. And with that agreement, they're going to be doing big data backend with AI on that process. And for that, us being a beta, instead of spending $10,000 a month to have this opportunity for our clients, we're going to spend $250 a month to be a brother-in-law deal and help build it out. And at the same time, take that out. And now we have another tool to sell our clients. If they like it, they keep it. If they don't, that's okay. But we're going to have that tool, and it also allows us to build it out. So that kind of a partnership, that doesn't come from somebody just saying, hey, I know somebody from so-and-so. That comes from working together. So that contract has just been signed. Haven't had a chance to even share it with anybody yet because it was a pipe dream prior to yesterday. It's a done deal today. So guys, that's just a Christmas present for us to work with. But that came from a partnership and an alliance, and with people like Tricia and the team and the Hero Club, et cetera, to go with. So I'm going to try to turn this around to a finale of growth-focused business planning. We're coming out of 24. Most of us had a good year. There's a lot of companies that are struggling, and with the economy and the situation that's going on, I'm looking for more people needing help from fractional people because they can't afford the full-time people. Definition of a fractional, we go into a company and the people we work with, whether a CMO, CHRO, COO, CEO, etc., if they need help, we bring in people like Bob Norton that's on this call, and we bring in others that's outside our wheelhouse to work through us for us to coordinate getting those companies what they need. So they don't have to spend $350,000 for the CFO. They don't need it. So we work with $5 to $50 million companies, which is a big part of the C-Suite network group and how they work with. So merger acquisitions, long-term planning. I want to turn this back over to Tabor. What are you seeing as far as you're working with your clients and getting ready for 2025?
I think a lot of it has, we talked about before, just having a plan, right? And really understanding where they're headed and getting a good roadmap for that. Cash flow is so king right now, and so I think a lot of people are wanting to really get a feel for where they see the company headed, and making sure that they're both set up for that kind of growth into 2025 and having the available cash flow to meet the needs that they're going to come across, as they continue to grow and scale.
And our situation, before we get involved or before people like us get involved, many times the CEO is overwhelmed, trying to figure out what to do, financial uncertainty, unsure of where they're going with the future. If we do our job as a CFO, a CMO, COO, et cetera, if we do our job, we help reduce that uncertainty. Afterwards, we give them confidence, proactive, focused on long-term success. That's our job. That's what C-Suite Network is trying to do. That's what C-Suite Support Network is trying to do, C-Suite Support Company. We all try to pull into that. And another gentleman that I know well on the call here that I'm going to pitch over to, and that's Bob Norton, and see what kind of thoughts he has to contribute to the kind of work that you do, Bob.
Yeah, we install a leadership operating system over a 1-year program to inject lots of structure and discipline in a company. Many of you might be thinking EOS, but we have a completely different model and a target market that are only venture capital worthy companies. We typically guarantee to add $10 million to the company's valuation, and also to generate a 50x ROI. And essentially what we're doing is saving an average of 7 to 8 years that Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, says it takes to build out all the proper systems to scale. So we have 6 separate systems that we install that make up everything needed to have cross checks and redundancy and discipline in the management team so that they can upgrade the professionalism of the management teams. It comes with a complete learning development system for all managers with 600 videos, 55 courses, and 6 professional certifications. And my background is as a serial entrepreneur. I founded 4 companies and sold them for a total of over $1 billion, growing 2 startups to 100 million within 5 years each. So that sort of gave me the pedigree and the experience to start the CEO boot camp in 2004. And over the last decade to build out Airtight Management to be the world's most comprehensive leadership operating system. We run the project where, unlike EOS, we don't just train implementers. We have, 20-year experienced people that go in and install these systems. And it's a hybrid of training, coaching, and consulting where we run the project and guarantee results. So very, very different model than EOS, which is sort of the more basic set of management principles. Ours is much more elaborate and comprehensive for companies that want to reach, 25 million, 50 million, 100 million, and have very large exits.
Appreciate it, Bob, and I appreciate you sharing what you do and how you do it. This is the type of thing that we try to bring in, and the type of people and companies that we try to coordinate with, and it all comes under the umbrella of C-Suite Network. While C-Suite Support does that from the fractional CFO standpoint, we know that we can deal with finances. We can deal holistically with a company to the point when it's outside our box. We bring in people that can do it for you. So we want to be your trusted advisor. We want to bring those things back around. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tricia, to kind of do a wrap and see what we can go from there.
Paul, in listening to everything we've shared today, and then in a wrap for me personally, is that I was an executive at 3 enterprise-sized organizations. So the kind of reporting, the kind of data that I had was incredibly extensive. There was nothing I didn't know. And trust me, I spent 18 years in the market research insights business. I can geek out with the best of you in terms of Excel spreadsheets and tabulating everything. But here's the thing that's really exciting to me, and I think it's a really important wrapper for everything that's been shared, is that strategic partnership. Paul, you've said it in so many ways, and everybody who's spoken here today has that strategic partnership, that trust and that relationship that we were referring to, and then all these tools we have in our chest, all these amazing people that we have to lead in different areas of expertise. That's so important. And when you have that, you can scale and grow and work through, the different pieces that you need to pull into play. And I'll also, I guess, throw out there, we always thought of a fractional as someone you hire when you can't afford. And Paul, you mentioned that, but I think now in terms of C-Suite Network, I have half of the full-time staff I had before COVID started. And that's very intentional. I don't want the overhead of a lot of positions. I want the expertise to be able to bring in the best of the best and elevate across all of the areas of expertise. So I think the world is changing, and what you're doing and this whole team, the capability of that strategic partnership to help us achieve our goals the most intelligent way, as opposed to the way it's always been done. How to incentivize the right pieces to create real success, as opposed to, again, the way that it always has been done. Those frameworks, there's certain metrics that are useful, but the world has changed entirely in terms of how we're actually operating our businesses. I'd love everyone's just, thoughts on that, because you are at the forefront of strategically how we make those changes and don't have the group think, no matter what size of company, when you're going into an organization. So I'd love for you to share, for everybody to share their perspectives in terms of that strategic partnership and seeing us through to the future. Bob,
you want to step in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, you can't disagree with any of that. It's all about team building, right? You can build a tiny house alone, but you can't build a skyscraper alone. And we only work on building skyscrapers and bigger visions and companies that are very ambitious and want to grow. But you've got to be able to attract and keep the right people, have a culture that people enjoy. Research shows 75% of people want internal training, and I bet it's close to 100% of the top employees that want to climb the career ladder and increase their market value and skill set. So there's a lot to it. I mean, we only install our system, and that's done in a year, but part of our job, like yours, is identifying the holes in the skill sets in the organization and bringing in the fractionals that are going to close that gap and get around the catch-22. Most people know that 80% of startups fail, but what they don't know is only 1 in 400 companies will ever make it to $10 million, a measly 10 million, and only 1 in 6,300 companies will make it to 100 million in sales. So that's like winning the gold medal at the Olympics, or, or the Oscars, right? It's 0.02% of companies. And of course, everyone can't get there, but the limitation, the research shows from McKinsey and others, that the limitation on that is really growing your managers, because managers can solve all problems and identify those and go after them. So it's not easy. I've got my virtual background on, but I've got something behind me that says, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm saying it's going to be worth it, hanging on my wall. It's a lot of work. It's a marathon, and you need a lot of skills to grow a company. Running a company is easy. We call our ultimate training the Master of Business Acceleration, because administration is easy. It's the growth that requires you to innovate and grab market share. And as Peter Drucker says, to focus on marketing and innovation, because those are the things that differentiate you from competitors and drive real growth.
Mm-hmm. Bob Fox,
Yeah.
it looked like you were going to
Yeah,
jump in.
let me take up on that one, because that's a great point. I was hoping that wasn't a virtual background, by the way. So it looks great, by the way, with the
It's
voice and stuff. So there you go.
Built.
But the thing about it is, he hit on a point that always are your plans bold enough? Do the people that you have really, can they get you there? And so those are things we kind of get into in terms of where you want to go. If you're doing like 4% per year increases and you're happy with that, but the market could give you 20, are you asking the right questions? And at the end of the day, do you have the right people to get you there? Because sometimes we have to make tough decisions, and that's where we help to come in and look at things and say, okay, here's your possibilities, here's your capable growth, and then now, okay, you got not everybody on board. And so just from experiences, we've had those discussions with different companies. And so you have to kind of understand what the potential is here, and now where are the stopgaps at inside that company. So that helps within a lot of companies just to get on the growth wagon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jason, would you like to weigh in here?
Yes, hold on. Let me get all my equipment.
Sorry about just surprising you there.
No, I think strategic partnerships are important, and I think it's knowing what your own strengths and weaknesses are, as well as what the client wants, and being able to leverage that. So, for example, I could market a pencil to a classroom. I mean, I just can't do that. I'm not a salesman, but I do know numbers. So I want to tell people and be able to leverage that. And so with the fractional space the way it is now, and being able to tap whether it's marketing, a COO, sales, advertising, whatever it may be, it's just important to be in a group like this to be able to leverage that expertise, because it only helps the client.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Tabor, you want to round this here?
Sure. I find that working in this fractional space has been really interesting for me, and seeing how it differs than working alongside other full-time employees, where we have so much more insight into other companies just in different industries, in the same industry, in this local region. But as companies look to grow and want to go out and bring in fractional support, you not only get somebody to do that particular job, and that may help advance your company, but you also get this incredible network of people. And we all lean on each other for different things, whether or not you're working with our C-suite support team, where we have a team of CFOs that know a lot about a bunch of different companies, but we also work with so many other people like those in the C-suite network, where we can leverage all these other these other people. But I have a meeting today where I'm putting two clients together because they just have so many different synergies that they need to meet. I've had another client ask me, do you know somebody in this space? I'd love to pick their brain on what I can do to become more efficient, operationally. And they've done it. I know some of these other companies have done a really good job in doing that. And so I've got Jason actually helping me put one of my clients together with one of his clients just for a brainstorming session. So I think there's just a lot of opportunity for growth with a lot of the businesses we work with, and this fractional community is really supportive, and it's a really interesting thing to tap into because it's so much stronger, even though it's on a fractional basis than you may realize, because it could sometimes do a lot more than even a full-time employee can do, and it's really a neat opportunity.
Well, I agree with that. I was on a call with the CEO this morning in another matter, and the discussion came around to being servant leadership, and we were on a peer level, so it wasn't a selling and he buying situation. But my comment was, you do the servant leadership if it's if you can and want to, but you give, and sometimes you get, but you give without expectation. It's a blessing when it comes. And Zig Ziglar was one of the Bible school teachers at our church until he passed. One of the comments he made: the more you're grateful for what you have, the more you have to be grateful for. I truly believe that. Try to live that. And as Tricia, I think, has experienced with us, she's referred a lot of people to us. I still get 3 to 4 phone calls a week of somebody trying to decide what to do, how to do it, and what are they going to do when they grow up. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to share any experiences I can. And I highly recommend to anybody the satisfaction. Last deal, we had a convergence summit here in May of this year, and we brought in 12 of our companies that we work with. During that meeting, I had 2 different people walk up to me, well, they at the same time actually, and one of them says, "I want to thank you. 6 months ago, I called you to try to find out, just trying to find out what I was going to do, and you recommended me becoming an EOS implementer. I did that. I'm making more money than I anticipated. It has changed my life. I want to thank you for that." Standing on the other side of me, he says, "Well, I'm here because you convinced me that I should be an EOS implementer. Now, I'm not as far along as he is, but I'm loving what I'm doing." Well, I had no idea what happened to those people. I just had conversations with them, and they had skill sets that just happened to meet those 2 things. Gave me cold chills, made me appreciate, and I'll stop with that. Tricia, you want to close us out here?
I do. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This is such a powerful, important conversation. And I think when we look at those trusted relationships, when we look at how we work together with great people, the principles of C-Suite Network are relevancy, reach, reciprocity, respect, and that obviously is just absolutely implicit in everything that you've shared, Paul, and the space that you've created leading C-Suite support and the council within C-Suite Network to bring all of us as fractionals together. So thank you, thank you, thank you to Bob Fox, to Tabor Wetz, Bob Norton, and of course, Jason Potts, and not last, but certainly not least, Paul Whitley. Thank you so much for everything you do. Your leadership is so important and so valuable across all of C-Suite Network. And for everyone with C-Suite Network, of course, we have Celebrates coming up on Friday. We're always in Dallas. This is my excuse to get to see our Dallas family on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, but we're in Phoenix the 2nd Tuesday, New York the 4th Tuesday of the month. And now we've launched our Go Big campaign, which is about how we're expanding content for things like this, our podcast content, TV content, digital content across the whole of the C-Suite Network, virtual, but also broadcast, streaming, fast channel. There's just so much opportunity right now. We're very excited about how we're expanding reach and distribution for all of our thought leaders across the platform. So thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody again soon.
I appreciate it, Tricia, and tell Jeffrey again, thank you for inviting us to come on with TV broadcasts with them. So I haven't even shared that with our team that we're going to start doing TV broadcasts of our product, what we do and who we do it with. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Have a great day. Take care.
Great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.